Hey everybody, this is me, Jonny, and I own Jonny Levi Studio, which is a hair salon on Bainbridge Island, Washington, and this is my YouTube channel. I'm so excited for all of you to join me, and those of you that have known me for the past 17 years as a hairdresser, please hit subscribe and follow this channel below. The adventures will continue to come, and I have plenty of creative ADHD-filled ideas to share with you. Today's episode is just an introduction and an understanding as to why I do hair and where I come from. So let's go. Where did it all start for me? Why am I a hairstylist, and how did this become my reality? I'll start by saying that I was a little awkward creative kid that was really flamboyant and outgoing, quite enthusiastic, and diagnosed with ADHD at 11 years old. In all honesty, the story is that my mom was cutting hair, and she was cutting my brother Bobby's hair, and the clipper guard fell off as she was going to cut the back of his hair, and he got a giant bald spot, which was terrible. At that moment, I decided I was going to take the clippers from her and start to cut the rest of my siblings' hair, and that's kind of where I was able to start my career. I think that my family, my father and mother, knew that I was going to be a hairstylist by the time I was 5. I asked for a My Little Pony. I was obsessed with those in the 80s, and I might have been 5 or 6. My mom bought me one for Christmas, and the My Little Pony was a little boy, so it was like a Clydesdale horse with a red tail, and I just practiced braiding, which is what I'm doing with my hands and my mind right now, the ponytail, over and over and over again, and became obsessed. Then as I got a little bit older, my mom asked me to help her with her hair color, which was like the box dye out of a bottle just to get the spots in the back. And then she messed up on my brother's hair that day, and I had to take over. She also gave us terrible bowl cuts, no offense, Mom, but like I looked like a little mushroom. It was cute. All the way through my junior year of high school until I cut it off myself. The reason that I do hair is because people like my family saw this natural skill and talent I was passionate about. And I grew up pretty religious. I grew up Mormon, actually, and I ended up coming out of the closet on my mission in West Virginia when I was 19, which you'll hear more about in the future. But that journey of acknowledging who I was instead of trying to fit in the box that I was raised in felt like I could become more myself through the craft of doing hair and through being a part of the beauty industry, which tends to collect the awkward, the artistic, the people that don't fit in to conventional society. And I'm one of those people, and I got to learn to express myself while being embraced by the hair industry. Back then, I didn't have the knowledge or self-worth to recognize what hair could provide to me. Doing hair ended up providing the opportunity to travel around the world and see and work with some of the best models there are out there. Through hair, my life has been altered greatly. So I bet you're wondering what kind of experiences I've had in my career that have allowed me to get to a place where I own a business and allowed me to get to a place where I'm looking to mentor the next generation of artists. My career has taken me into all 50 states in America, luckily, onto television shows and sets and movies, as well as a trip to Portugal, which is very random, but that happened at one point, right? I'm gonna show you a bunch of slides of all of the images of photo shoots that I've worked on and a few bits of video footage if I can get that as well. And I'll give you a glimpse into what I've experienced. My story is unique in that I learned how to do hair through a corporation, and at some point in that journey, I felt that it was important for me to metaphorically move out of the house I was raised in. And that might sound very, it might connect to some of you who feel that you've worked in the same space for a long period of time and don't know the quality of your work out there in the world. So for me, after 7 years in that corporation, I took a big risk in 2013 and moved to Miami Beach, Florida, which was really tough and humbling, to be quite honest, because I struggled. The first 6 months was at a salon that wasn't very reputable. It was a different atmosphere than what I'd been a part of previously, and I needed to make some adjustments to survive. And in that time, I recognized that my goals had changed. I didn't want to be behind the chair working in a salon at that moment in my career. So I set out to be a part of the fashion industry. It was really tough at first, but I had the opportunity through meeting a few friends to assist other hairstylists on set and get an idea of what it's actually like to work in a photographic environment and on a set with a bunch of other artists and skilled professionals who are focused on their job, like the lighting that's helping me look good right now, right? And this video camera that I'm staring into is all created by somebody else that allows me to shine a little bit better. All right, how does a guy like me at 24 years old, after working graveyard at Denny's and not being a part of the hair industry, get into a position where I become an entrepreneur and want to open more than one salon? Well, it all starts somewhere, right? After a couple of years of hard work, school, and job placement, I wanted to become a superstar of hairstyling. So the first thing that I did back in 2006 was add every single woman that I could have in my chair at the salon to Facebook. Now in 2022, those same people come to me for their hair. Even though I lived in Miami for 5 years, I still have relationships. So at the beginning of my career, I gained a lot of knowledge and a great foundation from this corporation that I worked with. I was very lucky to be able to experience a lot of things because of them. But I did start out a bit of the awkward child in the salon's social atmosphere, and that was okay. What I knew that I had, and the thing that my dad taught me, was to be persistent. And when I say be persistent, I mean it. For me, that meant it. There's a great quote by Calvin Coolidge that I should read or remember, but I don't. It essentially says that people with talent often don't get to where they want to be because they aren't willing to work hard. And people with smarts often don't meet their goals because they're not willing to work hard. And that if I, an ADHD kid who barely graduated high school and had struggled so much in my early 20s, wanted to be the best hairstylist out there or a great hairstylist, the one thing I needed to do was be persistent. And so I started doing haircuts every 45 minutes, 12 people a day, 5 days a week with no lunch for 3 years in a row, and added every one of them to Facebook so that they could follow my personal journey as well as what they experience in the salon. Also, so they could ask me a question about their hair outside of the 45 minutes that we had together. The team was 12 people strong, and it was a really valuable part of my life. However, I knew I needed to change. And as I said earlier, I knew I needed to move out of the house that I grew up in. So that salon, although it was wonderful, was somewhere that I knew I needed to leave. And when I left, it wasn't just walking away, it was a big bang. I moved to Miami Beach from Seattle. I had only been there once for 3 days, and I decided 3 weeks later to pack my car with my 2 cats, my leopard gecko, and my mom, who drove with me across the country to Miami Beach so that I could start a new life. And it sucked. It was humbling, it was fun, it was difficult. I actually got robbed. I got stabbed and pistol whipped 2 months into living there. I overcame, I worked hard, and I became a hairstylist and a makeup artist in the fashion and film and television industry. That career started with e-commerce, just to give you guys a bit of knowledge about what the fashion industry looks like today. E-commerce is the clothing that you purchase online, and every time that you go to a website like Tommy Bahama or Amazon, you see a model wearing the clothing. Well, I did the hair and the makeup for each of those models, and I did work for those 2 different companies about 5 days a week, just like a normal job, and that's where the money really comes in. It's a good day rate with about 30 outfits a day, where we take a picture of the front and then the back. You get it. But my agency started to see that I had potential and professionalism. I don't know. They saw that I was cool and I would be able to do hair on set with people that had a little bit more of an established career without making them feel uncomfortable or awkward, even though I'm always kind of awkward, which is fine. So I was able to do things like my first big job was a music video with Robin Thicke and Nicki Minaj as his guest for one verse. The music video is called Back Together. We shot it in Miami, and it was a 1950s or 60s pool party vibe. I also met a good friend, Teresa Morgan. Teresa's a woman that inspires me greatly and has worked in hair and makeup for over 25 years in film and television. Film and television is a very different field than still frame fashion photography. In still frame photography, you work with an agency and they help to get your jobs. But when you're in film and television, you need to become a part of a television union, which was my goal at the last couple of years while I was in South Florida. Thanks to Teresa, I was able to work on jobs like the American Crime Story, Versace, which many of you saw with Ricky Martin and Penelope Cruz as Donatella. That was a really beautiful, cool experience for me. We got to go into the Versace mansion, do hair and makeup to make it look like it was a party from the 90s. And we were there all evening and all day watching these actors portray amazing people in our fashion history, right? I'm gonna change up energy a little bit and let you all know that during the process of me working in the fashion industry, I met my partner Kai, who I've now been with for 8 years. We met in Little Rock, Arkansas, of all places, where I was working for Dillard's doing hair and makeup, and he was my waiter at a restaurant. It was a random Sunday afternoon and I wanted a margarita with some fellow makeup artists. So we went to a restaurant in downtown Little Rock called Local Lime, and he was my waiter. I left a note on the receipt with my phone number, and the next day we went on a hike and we ended up in a relationship that's now been 8 years long and 4 states. So we lived long distance for 2 years, and then he moved to Miami. 2 years into our life in Miami, I had the itch to leave. I was finally ready to move on from the culture, life, and craziness that Miami Beach was offering. We decided either to go to New York City, San Diego, or Seattle. And because my family, my career history, and my life is based in Washington, in 2018, we returned, moving to Bainbridge Island, which is where we now live. Our first 2 years on Bainbridge, we both commuted together to work every day in the city where I would meet my clients thanks to Facebook from my past in downtown Seattle. And then, as you all know, the pandemic hit in March of 2020. At that time, I had to stop working altogether. We had a 3-month shutdown. And in that period, I was introduced to somebody who changed my life, and I opened my hair salon. July of 2020, which was 2 years ago this month, I opened Jonny Levi Studio, my first business. My team now consists of 7 people. Alana, my manager, I call her Grandma. She's very young, but she's like Mary Poppins. Everything I need is in her purse all the time, and everything that I need in my business is managed by Alana. I have Sierra, my senior stylist, Sarah, the first person that joined my team, Jillian, my little Spitfire superstar, and now Reese, my youngest and newest team member. We also have a skincare room and therapist who loves eyelash extensions, Rachel. I'm so grateful for my entire team. They're an amazing group, and you'll get to know each and every one of them. But what can you expect on this channel? That's a great question, because I'm not even sure. We're gonna focus on hairstyling, makeup, creativity. Just know that I'm ADHD, so I'm gonna bounce around a lot. It might be animal care or painting. It might be conversations with friends. It might be me doing drag makeup on myself. I'm not sure what you're gonna see. So every 2 weeks, you're gonna tune into this YouTube channel, subscribe, and stay ready for a new adventure every time. Next week, we're gonna talk about why quail eggs changed my life by visiting the farm that started it all. What does that mean? That means these quail eggs helped me open my very first business. I'll explain more next week. Just subscribe below, and I don't know. That's it. Yeah. Quail eggs.